the others, you were strong and swift and brave. A natural leader. But you had something they didn't. Something no one saw but me. Can you guess? Luck. Was I wrong?
Halo 3, the Golden Child, the fan favorite. Halo 2's release may have set industry records, but Halo 3 absolutely demolished that by becoming the biggest entertainment debut in history, earning more than $170 million in only a few days and selling around 3.3 million copies in just its first 2 weeks of sales alone. Basically, if you owned an Xbox 360, more likely than not, you owned Halo 3. And it's honestly no surprise, with amazing ads like Believe and Starry Night. But solid marketing and ads can only carry a game so far. So what improvements did Bungie make over Halo 2? And what made this game so beloved by the Halo community? Hey guys, Matt here, and today we're going to be talking about one of, if not the biggest release on the Xbox 360, Halo 3. So rip off those mounted turrets and let's get into this.
One of these days, you're gonna land on something as stubborn as you are.
Halo 3 takes place 2 weeks after the events of Halo 2, and players will quickly notice that there is a lot going on here. Humanity is on its last leg, with both the Prophets and the Flood bearing down on them. Not to mention the separation between Chief and Cortana, as well as the fragile alliance between the Covenant and the humans. The point I'm trying to make here is that Halo 2 left a number of important plot threads open with its cliffhanger ending, and it's no easy task to weave them all together in a way that makes the story flow smoothly. But somehow Bungie pulled this off, giving each narrative the time it needed for the most part, and giving me one of my favorite aspects of the story, which is the aforementioned alliance between the humans and Covenant. It's just done so well. You can really feel the tension between both sides in every scene. I remember back when I first played the campaign, I thought this cutscene was really cool. Showing Johnson and the Arbiter taking weapons from each other's soldiers, signifying, hey, we're on the same side. Now if you don't like it, then too bad. We got bigger problems. And boy oh boy did they ever, because Bungie really treated this like it was the end of Chief's story, with major enemies as well as beloved allies meeting their end. R.I.P. Johnson. Oh my god, I can't believe they killed my boy off like this. But hey, the story isn't the only amazing thing about Halo 3's campaign. Even the levels are mwah, chef's kiss amazing. While Halo 2 had to settle for more restrictive level design, Halo 3 takes things to new heights with its larger and more open levels. This allowed for Bungie to experiment with larger and more frequent vehicle sections, as well as more massive battles filled to the brim with both enemy and ally AIs, not to mention these massive set pieces that just couldn't have been done on previous hardware. Halo 3 brought us fantastic levels like Sierra 117, the first actual mission of the campaign, and a solid start. The jungle aesthetic is gorgeous and the level is open enough to allow good chaotic combat encounters. I'd also like to give a nod to Arrival, since it's the first tutorial level in the series to take place somewhere other than a spaceship. Then there's The Ark, which had great atmosphere involving a lot of good vehicle sections. It was also a cool retread of Combat Evolved to include these portions of Chief and Guilty Spark exploring the various structures. And finally, The Covenant, a long and varied mission with a ton of weight behind it, having the brief alliance with the Flood in addition to the death of Truth. Starting this level off with the Spartan Laser was a blast, and the level included some more fun vehicle sections. And yeah, Bungie may have created fewer levels for Halo 3 compared to the previous entries, but these levels alone show me that it was purely a matter of quality over quantity. And the quality doesn't stop there. So let's talk briefly about the AI. Once more, Bungie has somehow taken their already stellar AI and improved upon it. Elites are replaced by brutes and are way more fun to fight against compared to how they were in Halo 2. Blood are easier to damage, but fill the battlefield with overwhelming numbers, making them feel like a horde of zombies. And most importantly, gone are the days of being scared shitless by sniper jackals. Need I say more? Okay. The Scarab alone shows the improvements Bungie has made by making the Scarab its own independent AI instead of some set piece that's entirely scripted. This makes for really sick battles, and I think everybody knew shit was gonna get good when you heard the soldier say there were 2 Scarabs.
I count 2 scarabs. Repeat, 2 scarabs.
However, no game is perfect, and despite all the praise I've given this incredible campaign, there's still some things that bugged me while playing and replaying it. So let's get into the lows. Gameplay is sometimes halted by these weird visions featuring either Cortana or the Grave Mine, which not only messes with the pacing of the gameplay, but also makes the Grave Mine just feel less threatening. In fact, I saw Grave Mine more as a nuisance than anything else. Like, okay, we get it. You're still here. Can I please play the damn game now? Another major downside is how they handled the Arbiter. He was pretty much demoted to a side character your co-op buddy played as, instead of the badass lead he was in Halo 2. I mean, come on, man. Some of the best levels in Halo 2 were when you played as the Arbiter. So to see him in a role not nearly as impactful is just sorta sad. And finally, in terms of missions, I can only really think of one that I just did not have fun replaying, and that's Cortana, which I find it incredibly ironic that one of the best missions in Halo 3 is followed up by one of the worst. In fact, it is the worst, and probably one of my least favorite missions out of the entire original trilogy. This level brings you back to where Halo 2 ended, with the goal being to fight off the Flood and save Cortana. The problem I have with this level is that it's too damn repetitive. Every room feels almost identical. And if that wasn't enough, you have the Grave Mine stopping you every time you enter a new room, which, as I stated before, completely throws off the pacing of the gameplay. Man, I remember when I first played this level, and even then, I got very bored and kind of annoyed. Not only was I having difficulties figuring out where the hell I was, but then any progress I made would feel unrewarding, because then I don't get to continue playing the game. I just have to sit there and wait for the Grave Mine to stop yapping. But yeah, thankfully, that's all I have to say about lows for the Halo 3 campaign. Halo 3's campaign is on another level and feels like a culmination of everything the previous games were leading up to, with its adrenaline-rushing action moments, as well as its slow and serious ones. All of which having a killer soundtrack to match the tone of every scene beautifully. Sure, there's some lows to the overall experience, but the highs more than make up for them.
Killing spree. Spectacular.
Okay, so as stated in previous Halo videos, I didn't exactly get to play some of these games when they were big, and Halo 3 was no exception. When I got my hands on this game, none of my friends really cared to go back to it, since at that point, Halo Reach had been out for a while and Halo 4 was the newest Halo that everyone was playing. So I played a very small amount of Halo 3's multiplayer and Forge back on the 360. But just like with Halo 2, I did play a shit ton of multiplayer on MCC and did some research. So although I won't be able to talk too much about Halo 3's social features, I I can still provide my thoughts and opinions on maps, weapons, and all that good stuff. So let's finally dive into the multiplayer. Bungie improved the matchmaking immensely by adding one major thing: the veto. This allowed players to have the chance to swap out a map they disliked for potentially one that they might like. This is an improvement that 343, for some ungodly reason, thought was unnecessary in later entries. Cough, cough, MCC. No, seriously, I cannot stress enough how garbage the map rotation is in MCC. But anywho, gameplay variety was another big improvement Halo 3 made, by not only keeping modes from the previous games, but also adding modes like VIP, Infection, and Griffball, along with some extra additions to custom game options. But gameplay wasn't the only thing to get a boost in variety, so let's talk about the weapons. Halo 3 had one of the best arsenals of the Halo games. In addition to the sheer variety of guns, we also have the return of dual wielding, the ability to detach mounted weapons, and an insane amount of new equipment. Bungie did a pretty damn good job balancing the weapons and making them just a blast to use in both multiplayer and campaign. However, I can't go over everything that's new with the arsenal, because 1, this video would be a lot longer, and 2, it'd probably be delayed for another month. But I still want to highlight some cool new additions, so let's get into that. Starting with the Mauler, also known as the Type 52 pistol. It's a close-range shotgun pistol that can be dual-wielded. Unfortunately, the Mauler on its own isn't as powerful as the M90 shotgun. Then there's the SGM-151 missile pod, which you just feel like such a badass using. Sure, it's not the most effective weapon. You pretty much have to get a direct hit on your target in order to kill them, but this was a really cool addition. Speaking of badass weapons, the 486H heavy machine gun is just that. It's a powerful machine gun with an extremely high fire rate. It can be used mounted, or you can dismantle the tripod and take it on the go. As for the equipment, some of the standouts for me was the power drain. This is definitely one of those equipments where I love to use it and I hate when it's used on me. Once thrown, the power drain takes about half a second to activate and lasts for around 7 seconds. This equipment essentially drains your shields and makes you more vulnerable. Halo 3 was also the game where deployable cover first appeared, which is pretty self-explanatory as to what it does. And the last piece of equipment I'm going to go over is the Regenerator. This equipment emits a green field of energy which restores a player's shield, as well as those of anybody near the player. However, the downside to that is that also includes enemies. The Regenerator lasts 15 seconds and has a small delay. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get into the maps. Halo 3 launched with less maps than the previous game, but each map provides its own unique experience with the various layouts, designs, sizes, and vehicle placements. Sure, some of the maps are from the previous games, which I can see that being a deal breaker for some people, but Bungie remade them in a way that makes everything feel kind of fresh. So I think it was perfectly fine that they added them. As per usual, there were some standout maps for me, those being High Ground, an asymmetrical map taking place on and around an elevated as well as damaged UNSC base with multiple entrances. The base is also positioned along a beach, which looks really nice. Then there's Valhalla, a map that's similar in shape to Blood Gulch, but has a lot of unique elements of its own. This map is just a classic, and I always have fun playing Team Slayer on it. And Ghost Town, which consists of 3 buildings surrounded by hills and trees. The map has a ton of rubble and vegetation that is overgrown during years of abandonment. I don't know, man. I just really enjoy this map, not only for its aesthetics, but for game modes like King of the Hill and SWAT. It's just fun. Also, shout out to Waterfall. I know it was only in the MCC version of Halo 3, but it was a pretty damn cool map. And finally, before we close things out, I'd just quickly like to talk about Halo 3's Forge mode. Listen, Halo 3 was the birthplace of Forge and laid the foundation for future iterations of this mode. But in my opinion, it's the weakest version of Forge. It's not terrible by any means. Okay, put the pitchforks down. It's just that the future entries improved upon it so much that I don't really see a reason to go back to it. Maybe it's just the fact that I didn't have any of those amazing fun experiences with friends like I did with Halo Reach's Forge. But my opinion still stands regardless. Also, come on guys, the Forge world map just straight up slaps in Reach. In short, Forge may feel like a relic of the past, but the campaign still stands the test of time. And the multiplayer social features, as well as the veto, may be dead and buried along with the Xbox 360 servers. However, the multiplayer still lives on in MCC. Maybe to a lesser extent, but it's still there. So if for some ungodly reason you haven't picked up Halo 3 yet, go buy it on Steam now. The campaign alone is worth the price. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below, tell me about your experiences with Halo 3, because honestly, I love reading them. And as always, consider subscribing for more content like this. I've been rezoraptor, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!